smooth, not really much substance to it, you know, just vibe, beat, flow, that's it really.
Yeah.
And then another gear is like Perfect Peace, Gold, Last Days of Summer, which is like pretty heavy. When something's like really heavy on my mind and I'm able to just offload, and you can really hear like the emotion and the pain. And then I think in between that is where Crazy Part 3 sits, where it's like I'm still trying to be cheeky, still trying to say some catchy lines, but I'm also touching upon some deeper issues, like I said.
Hi guys, welcome back to We Plug Good Music TV. My name is Ayo and you're tuning into our Behind the Music series, where we'll be speaking to some of our favorite new artists and they'll be telling us about their latest releases. Today, we're speaking with North London rap artist, producer and songwriter King K about his new single, Crazy Part 3. Here we go. King K, welcome to the podcast, man. How's it going?
Yeah, all good, thanks, man. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Before we jump into the interview, we just have to do a quick check-in with our guests. So, how are you doing? How has 2023 been so far for you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. 2023 has been good so far. Already dropped one single, Crazy Part 3, which is doing well. It's picking up steam. Celebrated my 30th birthday last week as well, which is amazing. Went to Barcelona with the gang. That was amazing. Yeah, it's been good, you know. 2023, third time's a charm, like we said, you know, just turned 30, so yeah, man, all good. Yeah.
Cool. So before we jump into the new single, Crazy Part 3, for the people watching or listening that may be meeting you for the first time today, can you give us a bit of a backstory as to who King K is and how we got here?
Yeah, so King K is an artist that raps, produces, songwrites. Born in East London, Homerton Hospital. Moved to Lagos when I was like a few months old. Was there for about 5 years. That's where I kind of first got into music. My brother used to listen to all these Michael Jackson. We had these VHS Michael Jackson tapes, Moonwalker. So we used to play that back to back to back. Mum used to play a lot of gospel in the house. So this was just like shaping my the influences to my sound. Moved back when I was like 4 or 5. Lived in Tottenham for about a year, so North London. And yeah, my dad used to always, he had this old school red Mercedes. He used to always drive back and forth between like my grandma's house in Hackney, and my uncle was a DJ, so he used to always cut him tapes, and we always used to have like a lot of like R&B songs in the car, like Joe, Don't Want to Be a Player, you know, a lot of Brandy, and obviously the rap influences as well. So that was just how my sound kind of was shaping up. And my uncle, that same uncle, actually bought me my first CD. It was We Invented the Remix. This Puff Daddy and the Bad Boy Family. And you know, back in those days, they had the CD that you could put into the computer and you could watch the music video. So I remember seeing I Need a Girl Part 1 and 2 and like Loon. That was like, you know, watching Loon's verse in I Need a Girl Part 2. That was like my rap origin story, you know, just that smooth cadence, you know, he had the waves, he had the goatee. I was like, damn, this is me. So yeah, that's how the whole R&B kind of smooth kind of cadence, that's how that all shaped up. So did grime for a bit as a teenager, you know, as most rappers did. Kano, of course, same, like laid back kind of guy, but just like an amazing lyricist. Yeah, so after grime, what happened after? Man, moved to New York in 2015 to do like a banking internship, soaking up the culture. Released my first project that same year. It was called Mr. Gatsby. My brother actually produced a lot of it. Had some crazy relationships in New York, and then I kind of made this project called Winter's Winter. I came up with the idea during like a snowstorm in New York. I don't know if you've seen snowstorms in New York, they are crazy. So it was like trapped in the house for a while. Came up with the concept, and it kind of documented this relationship from start to finish. That was Winter's Winter, 2017. I kind of took a bit of a step back from music for a while. I was just dropping like a single here and there for the next few years. And obviously since like 2022, I've been dropping a lot more consistently. So yeah, that's a short version of the story. Yeah.
You have said that music was always your focus when you were growing up, and you know, and that it not only kept you from getting into trouble, but it helps you stay connected to your roots. Like, can you speak on how that was important for you, and and how in fact music did help you, help shape who you are now?
I think you're referring to that bar. It was like, I was chopping up 90 samples, they was handing them out. Heavy, and they were serving crack. I was trying to crack FL Studio. That's the bar. You know what? That bar came about. I was just reading about like, youth clubs and shit like that closing down and kids not having anything to do, and the devil makes work for idle hands. So that was just a reference to that, and the importance of just having something to do, which is in my case sport, being in church a lot, having music. My brother used to produce as well, so we used to always make music. And the other side of that bar, it was more like, there's the culture. I feel like it pushes only a certain type of background, like people growing up in like tough backgrounds, which, and not to discount the experience of people that had that kind of upbringing, but there's also another side, right? There's like, not everyone was outside. Some people were, like I said, in church. Some people were studying, doing their books, and so that was just to give like a little balance.
Cool. We are definitely going to get to Crazy Part 3 in a second, but this song is part of a 3-song series that you have dropped for the past few months. Can you tell us what led to you putting out this series, and what is this series meant to be about?
You know what? I've been thinking about it because it's hard to like articulate things that just come naturally. So before this, I was trying to sit down and trying to really like, how did I come about this? Crazy is just something we say in the team all the time, whether it's something good or bad. Like, oh, that's crazy. Oh, it's crazy. So that's how the song titles came about.
Okay.
But when I released the part 1,
Yeah.
I didn't even have part 2 or 3 ready. You know what I mean? So it was just crazy. And yeah, again, it was like I was trying to explain like a difficult relationship situation, talk about some madness I was going through. And music is just like, it's like therapy. Do you know what I mean? The first bar I made was actually that only thing amazing was the Margiela. And I remember I was listening to God Did, that Jay-Z verse, that crazy Jay-Z verse, and I was like, damn, I just need that same kind of energy, So I made that first bar, and then I kind of made the song from that. And then part 2, there's this guy that actually lives near my area, I think, Aziz, the genius. He sent me like a beat pack. I think he was like a fan of music, and I'm always listening to new producers. So the first beat he sent me was that part 2 beat, and I was like, wow, this is crazy, no pun intended. And around that time, I was having issues again, not relationship issues. I don't want to put that narrative out there, but like me and my cousin were falling out. So I kind of put that into the bar, So I was like, I ain't spoke to 3 in a minute, supposed to speak, but we didn't. And that was cool because I was able to just kind of offload that. And then he heard that song, funnily enough, and he's a rapper as well, so he kind of responded on another track.
Right.
So that was pretty sick, like a little full circle moment, able to like communicate and resolve issues through music, which is nuts in itself. And then part 3, my friend Stan, who's in my management team, he kind of sent me the beat when I was on my way to the barbers. And it was just like, I was even getting emotional just hearing the beat. It was just amazing. So I wrote it on the way, got home, but it took me ages to record it. Like normally if I don't like a song within like the first hour, I kind of just abandon it. But this time, because the beat was just amazing, and I knew I had to close out the series, I kind of stuck with it. It took me like 2 weeks, So there was no like methodical way in which I was doing it. It was just like, it just came about that way. And obviously part 1 and 2, Mary J. Blige samples, all 3 have like a similar like BPM, that kind of vibe. So yeah, that's how it came about.
Nice. All right, let's get into it. Crazy Part 3. You said that on this track you wanted to blend your love for smooth talking with more introspective themes, but to take us much deeper than that, can you tell us what Crazy Part 3 is all about?
Yeah. So I think I've got a few gears creatively. One of them is like, it's just like surface level shit. Like Wavy K, for example, I'm not really saying anything too. It's just trying to be clever, trying to say the catchiest shit. Just trying to be smooth. Not really much substance to it, you know. Just vibe, beat, flow. That's it, really. And then another gear is like Perfect Peace, Gold, Last Days of Summer, which is like pretty heavy. When something's like really heavy on my mind, and I'm able to just offload, and you can really hear like the emotion and the pain. And then I think in between that is where Crazy Part 3 sits, where it's like I'm still trying to be cheeky, still trying to say some catchy lines, but I'm also touching upon some deeper issues, like I said, balancing out different types of upbringings, and that touching on different relationships and that kind of thing. So that's how Crazy Part 3 came about. I didn't want to be too, because I had dropped Last Days of Summer like a couple months before, so I didn't want to be like too heavy, you know, and it's exhausting. Like making those kind of songs is heavy. So I was like, you know, let's keep it light somewhat, just touch on a little bit as well. So yeah, that's what Crazy Part 3 is about.
So I think, was there like any particular thing that kind of inspired you to want to touch on those themes, or these themes that you touch on Crazy Part 3?
Yeah, like I said, I read that article about like youth clubs closing down, stuff like that, and I was like, okay, let me touch on that, and also like give the other side, like I said, different kind of upbringings, touching upon like the fashion stuff, which we'll get into a bit later, and yeah, so you know, if like I said, it's quite hard to articulate how I'm making these songs, because it's very natural. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But I normally just go through things, experience things, and then I'll hear a beat. That'll kind of just bring it all out. You see what I mean?
Cool. All right, let's jump into the fashion side of things. So on the song, you know, there's a line where you have said that you don't want that line to get overlooked. Used to rock Fubu, now we rocking Martin Rose and Bianca Saunders.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that line for us and why you don't want it to be overlooked?
Yeah, and I'm actually rocking a Martin Rose t-shirt now. It was more like back in the day, one of the only brands we knew of that was Fubu, the black owned for us by, is that what it's actually called? But now, if you go into like Selfridges, there's a lot of like high-end black designers, like Martin Rose, Bianca Saunders, Wells Bonner. So it's pretty cool to, you know, to just have that, you know. So like if you want to spend a little bit more money, you can still somewhat give back, you know, and just wear something that's made by us, for us. You see what I mean? And I tweeted that bar actually like a couple weeks ago, and Bianca Saunders actually responded, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So no, it's good to have a lot of new brands, representation in fashion as well. So that's why I made that bar. Yeah.
Nice, definitely. You also touch on how travel influences your music. Can you, you know, perhaps go a bit deeper into, you know, what is the link between your music and your different travel experiences, and you know, and how does your love for travel show itself on this Crazy Part 3?
Yeah. I think with travel, it's like when you go to a different environment, you get different perspective, you see different things, you're exposed to, you know, whole new different walks of life. Like when I moved to New York in 2015, I just experienced so much. Traveling to different cities in America, whether I was New York, I was going to Atlanta, I was going to like New Orleans, Chicago. We got trapped there for like 4 days because of a snowstorm. And these are all just different experiences. And then when I got home, like I would just hear an instrumental and it was just all able to just come out, you know? And you can just touch on different things, you know? Travel, it just gives you new experiences. Yeah,
cool. So you have touched on this a bit, but we want to go into like the creative process behind the making of this song. So, you know, like just, you know, what is that process like? What is the studio session like? You know, how hands-on are you in terms of how you want the track to sound when mixed, or, you know, like, you know, those things, those kind of creative things that go into making a song? What was that process like for this track?
Yeah, so I think a couple months ago, my friend Mo is also on our team. He sent me this producer on Instagram, and I was going through his playlist and hearing a bunch of his beats. And I heard this one, like I said, on the way to the barbers, and I was like, I need this beat. So I was like hounding the guy on Instagram. It took him a while to respond, and then he finally let me buy the beat. So I sat with it for a while. I wrote the song same day. Didn't have a hook. I just had like first verse and a bit of the second verse and a different hook. So when I got home, recorded it. So I'm a lot more comfortable recording in my house. I've got like my own setup in one of my rooms. So I recorded it myself. It took me a while. It just wasn't sounding right. I was trying to sit down and record. I was like, okay, it's not sounding right. Let me stand up and record. I was sending it back and forth to my friend Stan. He's like, different take. So I left it alone for a bit. And over like the next couple of weeks, I just kept going back, changing like the cadence, changing the bars a bit. We're trying to add some more relevant stuff. So that was the creative process. I tend to do the front to back sometimes. So I made the artwork on my phone. I've got an app. I had a photo shoot with one of my friends. He came through, put the edits on. I cropped it on my phone, added the parental advisory thing on the corner to make it look like an album cover. Did that on my app. Recorded it myself on the Logic. I know how to use Logic. Mixed and mastered it myself as well. Yeah. So that was cool. And then the visualizer we did was just random. We were doing a photo shoot, but I was like, let me just freestyle the track. So we did that. So front to back creative process. I managed most of it. But I got a shout out this guy called Nick, who's been helping me a lot with the visuals. And we've got another video coming out like in a couple of days.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. You have touched on your love you have touched on how your love for the 80s and 90s played a big role in making this track, and most of your music is leans into some really amazing samples that you use. Can you speak on how did you fall in love with that sound or that time, and how does that then play out in your music?
Yeah. Like I said, the R&B, I love R&B. I think I would have been an R&B singer in a past life. I just love R&B. If I could sing, I wouldn't even bother rapping. I'd just be an R&B guy. So like I said before, going on those drives with my dad, and he had those tapes playing all that R&B music. That just played a huge role in developing my sound, especially like 90s, like I said, Jodeci, a lot of Casey and JoJo, and even like 80s R&B, like Freddie Jackson. I don't know if you heard that. Have You Ever Loved Somebody? The sounds are just crazy. It feels like something you play in GTA. And there's another guy called Jay White, actually. He had a song called Mood for Love. And it's got that 80s inspired sound. It's like very spacey kind of sounds. Love that kind of music. And combined with like current hip hop beats, like 808s, that kind of stuff. It's just a beautiful pair.
You have a knack for really picking or using really great samples. So what is that process like? Because in my mind, you must be going through loads of beats, to find one that really does that sound well. Just how do you pick those beats?
So it depends. So my brother used to produce, and he's also super into R&B. I might send him a song. I'd like, try and chop this up, and he'd chop it up. So I was doing that for a bit, and then I was working with a mill for quite a while. It's called a mill. And when we were working, it was every time we go studio, we always make magic. I might be in a restaurant. Like my song Barry, I was in a restaurant, and I heard the Barry White sample. And I used to listen to that when I was in sixth form. So I sent him the sample. He chopped it up right away, sent it back, and I just went home and recorded it. So it's very organic. It's just wherever I am, if I hear a sample or even sometimes dreaming about songs that I've heard like when I was younger. It's very organic. Going through a lot of songs, playlists, a lot of back and forth with the producer. But even now, with the way the internet is, you can just go on YouTube and type in a song you like and say, Joe, more and more sampled beat, and you can hear something. They're not always good, but it's like, that's how it goes.
Nice. All right, cool. So this track has been out for a few weeks now, and it has been getting love from the likes of BBC, One Extra, and Ministry of Sound. Can you tell us a bit about, what the overall reception for Crazy Part 3 has been like, and how does that make you feel as the artist?
No, it's been good. It feels good. Like you can feel the momentum. You can feel like people are really reaching out and saying they're enjoying the track. We're just trying to connect the other pieces. Like marketing, as you know, is a minefield. Like it's just trying to figure it out. It's interesting, but no, it's good to be on like One Extra. Like that was good. They played that like 3 weeks in a row, so that's good. And it just shows like the power of the work behind the scenes. Like we might send, as a team, like 200 emails, and then one of them is just going to land with a decent placement. So it just shows the power of the work in the background, power of following up, because like they might not respond to you the first time, but then on the second time or the third time, if you just be on their necks and hound them, you might get some results. So no, it feels good. We just need to keep that momentum going. That's just what it's about now.
Dope. So let's talk about the upcoming mixtape. So I might be wrong or right, but the Crazy Part 3 is the last single from the upcoming project, right?
So it's just the last single before
the upcoming project.
Yeah. So
okay.
We were just trying to. We didn't want to put the project out before there was enough like momentum. We're still trying to build the momentum, which is why Crazy started off as like a throwaway, just to keep the ball rolling, So this is the last one. I think we're ready to now drop the project. Got 10 tracks on there. It's called Last Days in Summer, which might sound weird dropping that in spring, but we came up with the idea back in September. Just a project towards the end of summer that you can just carry into the end of the year, so it still feels like summer, even though like it's getting cold and shit. So I think that will work now because we can drop it before summer and it'll just carry on all the way into the year. So that's how it's going.
Cool. Are there any like guests on the project, or is it just you? Like, what can we expect, as well as like in terms of the sounds that we are used to from you? So it's those same sounds, or like what should the listener expect from this next project?
I think they should expect us just to be carrying the sound forward. Still like heavy on like the R&B influences, but we're leaning to more of like the eclectic sound. So the next single I'm gonna drop is we've got this H-Town sample, but it's not like your normal kind of like 90s R&B sample and just rapping. This one is different. It's got like 2 parts. It's actually crazy. We've got some garage influences on there. Just to show people like I don't like to be boxed in. We can do a lot of things. So I think this project will definitely show that. And we've got like another like Perfect Peace style, grand, soul piercing kind of record, which is dope. Yeah. So features wise, it's just me for now. I've got a friend that's on it doing the hook on the garage song. He's not even a rapper, but he did a hook and it's just amazing. So we're gonna run with that. We might pull out an interesting feature later down the line. Who knows? But you could watch out for some surprises for sure.
So I do want to ask you though about guests on project or features, and I could be wrong, but like perhaps all of the songs that I have heard you on, they have just been just you. So is that by design or what? You know what I mean?
You know what it is? I think it's just my creative process.
Okay.
I tend to be quite spontaneous.
Yeah.
Like I'll just, like I said, I'll hear a beat and I'll just record it there and then in my house because I have the setup. I definitely think I need to do more features. But you know, J. Cole went platinum with no features, so. But no, it's always good to bounce off ideas with different artists.
Yeah.
There's a lot of artists I want to work with, and producers as well.
Yeah.
Like Emil's got a lot of tracks on this tape,
Yeah.
which is dope because we work very well together because we're friends from like school. We went to the same school, so like year 7, year 9, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, no, we're gonna work with a lot more people in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, on the back of last days of summer coming in spring, May time. All right, cool. And let's say that takes us into the summer and the end of and into the last days of summer. What else can people look out for you for the rest of the year?
So once we finish the project run, we've got more singles lined up, more videos, more shows, more clothes. Like we've got the merch that's gonna shoot off into its own like clothing line as well. The last days of summer line. The merch is crazy. I'm working with Mo on that. Fabrics are crazy. So just consistency. A lot more of everything. You know, more quality. Yeah.
Can I ask you about your shows, right? So like your sound is really dope. I'm sure it sounds great with a live band. What is the King K live experience like?
That's a good question. You know, I do like intimate shows. Like last summer we did one at Soho House, and it was very intimate, and it just worked well. You know, so I was able to do all like the slower tempo songs, and people really connecting with it, connecting with the lyrics. I was able to like, you know, talk in between. But on the go forward, you know, I've got tracks that are a lot more high energy that I can perform live, and I perform them at a couple of events as well. I've got a show with a guy called Cam Thomas in May in Peckham Audio, so that should be cool. I think fans of that are probably going to they like the rap sound, real rap sounds, which is going to be good, so I think they're going to be very receptive to that. I definitely want to do more shows with a live band, because like you said, I think with like a saxophone, you know, especially. I've got a lot of songs with saxophone, so I think that'll just be amazing, and we can really do some big things. So look out for that. That's coming soon.
Cool. All right. Last 2 questions before we wrap. We just like to ask if you can tell us something that you have read or watched or listened to that you found really interesting, or perhaps you would want to recommend to our listeners, and why you have chosen that thing.
Yeah, I reread one of my favorite books. It's called The Invisible Man, by an author called Ralph Ellison. It's basically about this like university educated black kid growing up in like the 1950s and 60s in America, and he's struggling with the fact that people see his blackness first. So eventually he retreats into a hole because he says he's invisible, because they don't see who he really is, his personality. They just first see the fact that he's black. And I think a lot of us can resonate with that, walking into a room where, oh, that's just a black guy. And then you have to show the rest of yourself. So yeah, that's one book I've read I would definitely recommend. Another good one was The Psychology of Money. I forget the name of the author, but that was a great book. Basically just trying to get people to change their behaviors with money, spend less, like everything you need sits right below your ego. And like, wealth is what you don't see. So everything you see, like cars, clothes, that's all your reduction in wealth. You know, everything is behind that. So just looking at broad patterns as opposed to focusing on individual examples of success. So that's a great book. Definitely recommend that. Yeah, so those are the 2.
Thank you so much. All right, cool. Our customary final question for this series, for people that are just finding out about you in this conversation and they want to go back and hear more, what 3 songs should they start with and why?
That's a good question. I think Perfect Peace, in no order. Perfect Peace is one, because that just shows the gospel influence, and that's one record where you can really feel like the pain and the emotion in the record. So I think that will show them one element to myself. I think Barry as well, because although Barry's not too deep, I'm still like touching on some deep issues and some relevant issues, but it's also just an amazing song, and it just shows like how influenced I am by like, you know, real musicality, like, you know, the saxophone, the jazz influences. That's a good song. And then Wavy K as well, because it just shows like that different side of my personality. As just like, you know, just the cadence, just laid back, just cheeky, that kind of vibe. I'd also say, if I add one more,
sure.
I would say they should listen to my verse on Cam Thomas's, what's the song called? Swingers Club. Because, now I remember someone posted my song online. I think it was Wavy K, which I made in like 20 minutes, and they were like, oh, this isn't too lyrical, and it kind of annoyed me because I feel like I can really rap sometimes, and that's one song where I was inspired by that tweet to just really go off. So I think that song will show you like I do have that like super lyrical element to me.
Cool. All right. Let's give them one like really old deep cut from King K's discography. If you want, like, if I want to go way back to your music, so not the last 2 or 3 years, what one song should I go back to?
The Revolution.
Okay. Why?
I think because of the subject matter, it would just show you where I was at the time. I just finished uni. I had no money. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Yeah, definitely. That's one.
Cool. Thank you so much. Where can the people find you on the big bad web? All the socials, all the things. Can you just tell us?
Everywhere is King K Music. So Instagram, Twitter. What else do we have? TikTok now. They got me on TikTok now.
Yeah.
Yeah. King K Music for everything.
Nice one. Thank you so much for coming down.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it, bro.